You will come through doorways that you didn't even know were there. See something unbelievable. But you have to believe it because it's right there in front of your eyes.
What I want to give her is something bigger than you.
My name is Scarlet Kay. I'm a magician's assistant for
The magician known as
Dante
Dante
the
the Great.
Fuck you sideways with a phone pole! I can't adequately parse how much I hate this short, but I'll give it an honest attempt. Dante the Great starts out as a true crime mockumentary about a famous magician called, you guessed it, Dante the Great. He's neither great nor named Dante, but things change when he comes across a cloak with actual magical powers left behind by the great Harry Houdini. You know, the staunch anti-spiritualist who spent half his career undermining anyone who claimed to have magical powers? Just get through this, watch something good. Just get through this, watch something good. The short begins with Scarlett, played by Emmy Argo, interviewed as a witness to the suspected criminal conduct of John McMullen, aka Dante the Great, aka Justin Wellborn. It starts as most documentaries about fell celebrities do, by recreating his rise to fame from his humble roots, using interviews, home movies and promotional media, and then it goes off the rails immediately. So 2 minutes in, we established there is verified undoctored footage of the cloak proving it is a genuine magical artifact. Footage that is now widely available to the public, and yet they're farting around saying it's actually real. And let me guess, every trick this guy does is the same proliferated, unimaginative, rehashed illusion there ever was.
He picked my pocket. From mid-balcony, he picked my pocket. From the stage. I don't know how he did it.
Is this my punishment for not liking Hell House? The issue for me is supposedly Dante is one of, if not the world's greatest magician, but not only is there nothing we haven't seen before about his magic, the only appeal of it is how he amps it up to 11. It's like David Copperfield making the Statue of Liberty disappear. The scale of it is impressive, but it's still a tired illusion. The thing is, this is a movie. To create the illusion of magic, you don't need the same principles of sleight of hand, misdirection and flair that real magicians use. And so, doing card tricks, pickpocketing and levitating women split in half into the air above the audience, it isn't nearly as impressive as summoning actual dragons or spirits, and yet we are supposed to buy this guy is the greatest magician of all time? Not to mention the CGI looks like this.
You will never discover how I do it.
Shut up, you clown! About the story, Dante relies entirely on the cloak to perform, himself having almost no skill in magic. So when he has allowed it to take him to the world stage and then it decides to sulk, it's a bit of a problem.
We have an audience tonight, so why are you working?
I'm gonna give this movie a little benefit of doubt. The way I read that line is, it needs an audience to perform. And locked away in the dark, it can't do anything. Warned by the one person, it can't do anything. It needs someone or something to watch it. And that could be why Dante keeps cameras rolling, even though he's just messing around, learning how to use it. This could also help explain the lore surrounding it a little bit. Let's say that Houdini did come across this cloak, and he did use it for a bit, but then he realized it was too dangerous, and so he locked it away. And this same pattern kept repeating because people can actually be nice and responsible. Let's say that Dante is the first person in the past 100 years to use the cloak knowing the consequences and just not caring because he just had that little to lose. Dante may be the first person in the past 100 years to dig himself so deep into the cloak's debt that he needed to pay it back or lose everything he had. That could be what that sentence implied. But let's acknowledge that this movie drove me to the point of boredom so hard that I came up with that theory rather than pay attention just to squeeze some kind of enjoyment out of it. So what's so bad about the cloak? Well, as with all living things, it needs energy to work, it gets energy when it eats, and it eats people. So we have video footage of the magical cloak actually killing and eating women that Dante seduces and disposes of, and yet we're still not acknowledging it's real. Greg Bishop, writer-director. Did you get confused about what show don't tell means?
I wanted to work with him because I thought I would get to learn how to do the tricks and the illusions, but no one on the crew knew how he did anything. It was frustrating, to say the least.
Disparity feeds disparity in this vacuum of creativity. Scarlett came to Dante as a fan, they caught feelings, her abusive boyfriend didn't like that, and Dante made him disappear. Shy a few broken bones, of course. Because that's the way power corrupts, it makes you go after bad guys. Oh, and also...
How'd you do that?
I'll show you.
Dante teaches her to use the cloak. Dante teaches her to use the cloak. I guess I can't complain that she's unnatural when she does use it, but still. Being the curious top hat bunny she is, Scarlett discovers the videotapes of Dante's murders and reports him to the police. And he escapes with the least impressive sleight of hand so far. Justin gets into the car, camera pans away. Justin gets out of the car, picks up camera. Camera turns back, empty seat. Cop puts on handcuffs, camera turns back. Not only is that the worst sleight of hand I've ever seen on screen, but assuming it's supposed to be real magic, that is some major loops to crawl through.
It's magic.
Get lost. Thank you. Wait. So far the mockumentary has consisted of at least 5 timelines. Dante learning to use the cloak, documented by his home movies. Dante's rise to fame, documented by the press. Scarlett and Dante's relationship, documented by camera crews, handhelds and security cameras. Scarlett's interrogation after she discovered Dante's home movies and turned him into the police, documented by the police. And Dante's arrest, documented by the news. The interrogation and arrest has to come after one another by necessity, as the police wouldn't have arrested Dante without Scarlett providing the evidence and witness statement first. So how would Dante have been able to pull her from the interview to his arrest? You seriously mean to imply the cloak can time travel? And yet, this is a pinch compared to the crime this movie is about to commit.
What is the first rule?
Do you see it?
You never tell the rubes how the trick is done.
Do you see them? Any at all?
What is that thing?
Are you going to explain at all how this was filmed with no cameras?
Real magic.
So yeah, they tried to be clever about it by filming in shaky cam, but canonically there isn't one camera present. They broke footage purity by reneging on the sort of integral aspect of found footage that is the presence of cameras to film. Only mildly alleviated by the fact the climax matches my mood. Murder, death, mayhem! Murder, death, mayhem! As far as gruesome scenes go, this is alright. It's got the silliness of a superhero rogue facing off against police, but with the kind of brutality only comic books can get away with. You imagine a stage magician facing off against a SWAT team, this is pretty much what comes to mind. In that sense it's serviceable, but it really doesn't look as epic as it could have, if only they ditched the shaky cam and bothered with some actual composition. And the one-liners?
Welcome to the show. Nothing on my sleeve! Ta-da.
They're fine, but nothing special. And the nothing up my sleeves bit really bother me. Dante, you flipped a policeman onto a bed of nails. You didn't pull their still beating heart out of your hat. So now it comes, the long-awaited climax between the survivor Scarlett and her abuser. I think Dante never actually laid a hand on her, but he did seduce and murder a lot of women, so there is a pattern and she probably would have followed. Either way, he killed people, so he bad.
I'm so sorry, my dear.
I'm sorry, my dear.
Yeah, I wish it was that epic. For what it's worth, since there was no cameras, there was nothing to link Scarlett to Dante's disappearance, or the cloak, leaving his many admirers and detractors wondering. Scarlett did take the cloak, but only to destroy it, that it never again would harm another soul, and she could move on from this illusory glamour, stronger, confident, and safe. Oh yeah, burning shit, that's an old magic trick, isn't it? And that was Dante the Great. Not even Sag Afta could defend this malformed fetus. The premise is actually really good. A magician's cloak that manifests real magic under the attentive eye of an audience that has to be fed with human beings to work, forcing the magician to feed it in order to maintain his fame and glory, is a fantastic setup for a magic-themed horror movie. The idea reminds me a lot of classic horror films like Wishmaster and Warlock, balancing the fantastic with the horrific. But guess what? This ain't no Wes Craven production. It promises much more than it can deliver, and rather than work within those limitations, it hopes to distract with flashy, exaggerated nonsense. In a way, it answers a fun question. What if you could see the woman being cut in half? What if you could see how the trick would have to work to not be an illusion? But not only are the tricks themselves pretty boring, the special effects are pretty poor, and they are immediately thrown in our face. It doesn't build up to revealing the magic is real and brutal, it shows it first thing. There isn't any twist or sense of expectation, but everything happens immediately. And what happens is so unimaginative, and by the numbers it just becomes a waiting game, hoping your patience will be rewarded. Then, finally, the most egregious sin this short could commit, in my opinion. It makes the format look bad. The found footage mockumentary angle doesn't work when everything you'd want to know in the mockumentary is answered first thing, and there is no sense of storytelling. Not to mention the fact they break the continuity, disregard the camera presence, and still keep the shit cinematography just to preserve the feel of found footage when there was no reason. Dante the Great is without question the single worst short film I've ever seen part of the VHS franchise, and its only saving grace is its potential to be developed and the fact it forms the bedrock for how poor things can be. I assume? As of writing this, I still haven't seen VHS 85.